Okay. I'm going to be doing the public reading for October 26, 2019. Just yesterday on Shabbat, we finished the Torah. So we read Deuteronomy 33 to 34. So this coming week, we're going to start the Torah over. So we're going to be reading the first parsha, the first portion of the Torah, Bereshit, Genesis 1:1 to Genesis 6:8. Our prophet reading is going to be Isaiah 6. Our New Covenant reading is going to be Revelation 17. And our psalm is going to be Psalm 25. All right, let's get started with the Torah reading. In the beginning, Bereshit. Okay. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God caused there to be a separation between the light and between the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be a vaulted dome in the midst of the waters, and let it cause a separation between the waters." So God made a vaulted dome, and he caused a separation between the waters which were under the vaulted dome, and between the waters which were over the vaulted dome. And it was so. And God called the vaulted dome heaven. And there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. And God said, "Let the waters under heaven be gathered to one place, and let the dry ground appear." And it was so. And God called the dry ground earth, and he called the collection of the waters seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth produce green plants that will bear seed, fruit trees bearing fruit, in which there is seed according to its kind on the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth green plants bearing seed according to its kind, and trees bearing fruit, in which there was seed according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vaulted dome of heaven to separate day from night, and let them be as signs, and for appointed times, and for days and years. And they shall be as lights in the vaulted dome of heaven to give light on the earth." And it was so. And God made two lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the smaller light to rule the night, and the stars. And God placed them in the vaulted dome of heaven to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly over the earth across the face of the vaulted dome of heaven." So God created the great sea creatures, and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm according to their kind, and every bird with wings according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kind, cattle and moving things, and wild animals according to their kind." And it was so. So God made wild animals according to their kind, and the cattle according to their kind, and every creeping thing on the earth according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, and according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of heaven, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every moving thing that moves upon the earth." So God created humankind in his image. In the likeness of God he created him, male and female he created them. And God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and the birds of heaven, and over every animal that moves upon the earth." And God said, "Look, I am giving to you every plant that bears seed which is on the face of the whole earth, and every kind of tree that bears fruit. They shall be yours as food. And to every kind of animal of the earth, and to every bird of heaven, and to everything that moves upon the earth in which there is life, I am giving every green plant as food." And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a sixth day. And heaven and earth and all their array were finished. And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. And God blessed the seventh day, and he sanctified it, because on it he rested from all his work of creating that there was to do. These are the generations of heaven and earth when they were created in the day that Yahweh God made earth and heaven, before any plant of the field was on the earth, and before any plant of the field had sprung up, because Yahweh God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was no human being to cultivate the ground, but a stream would rise from the earth and water the whole face of the ground. When Yahweh God formed the man of dust from the ground, and he blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living creature. And Yahweh God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And Yahweh God caused to grow every tree that was pleasing to the sight and good for food. And the tree of life was in the midst of the garden, along with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now a river flowed out from Eden that watered the garden, and from there it diverged and became 4 branches. The name of the first is the Pishon. It went all around the land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Bdellium and onyx stones are there. And the name of the second is Gihon. It went around all the land of Cush. And the name of the third is Tigris. It flows east of Assyria. And the 4th river is Euphrates. And Yahweh God took the man and set him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate it and to keep it. And Yahweh God commanded the man, saying, "From every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat from it you shall surely die." Then Yahweh God said, "It is not good that the man is alone. I will make for him a helper as his counterpart." And out of the ground Yahweh God formed every beast of the field, and every bird of the sky. And he brought each to the man to see what he would call it, and whatever the man called that living creature was its name. And the man gave names to every domesticated animal, and to the birds of heaven, and to all the wild animals. But for the man there was not found a helper as his counterpart. And Yahweh God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man. While he slept, he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh where it had been. And Yahweh God fashioned the rib which he had taken from the man into a woman, and brought her to the man. And the man said, "She is now bone from my bones, and flesh from my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken from man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and shall cling to his wife, and they shall be as one flesh." And the man and his wife, both of them, were naked, and they were not ashamed. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other wild animal which Yahweh God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God indeed say, 'You shall not eat from any tree in the garden'?" The woman said to the serpent, "From the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat, but from the tree that is in the midst of the garden, God said, 'You shall not eat from it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die.'" But the serpent said to the woman, "You shall not surely die. For God knows that on the day you both eat from it, then your eyes will be opened, and you both shall be like gods, knowing good and evil." When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and the tree was desirable to make one wise, then she took from its fruit, and she ate. And she gave it also to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed together fig leaves, and they made for themselves coverings. Then they heard the sound of Yahweh God walking in the garden at the windy time of day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh God among the trees of the garden. And Yahweh God called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" And he replied, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid, because I am naked, so I hid myself." Then he asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree from which I forbade you to eat?" And the man replied, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave to me from the tree, and I ate." Then Yahweh God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." Then Yahweh God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you will be cursed more than any domesticated animal, and more than any wild animal. On your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. And I will put hostility between you and between the woman, and between your offspring and between her offspring. He will strike you on the head, and you will strike him on the heel." To the woman he said, "I will greatly increase your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bear children, and to your husband shall be your desire, and he shall rule over you." And to Adam he said, Because you listened to the voice of your wife, and you ate from the tree from which I forbade you to eat, the ground shall be cursed on your account. In pain you shall eat from it all the days of your life, and thorns and thistles shall sprout for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread, until your return to the ground, for from it you were taken, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return. And the man named his wife Eve, because she was the mother of all life, Chava. And Yahweh God made for Adam and for his wife garments of skin, and he clothed them. And Yahweh God said, Look, the man has become as one of us to know good and evil. What if he stretches out his hand and takes also from the tree of life and eats and lives forever? And Yahweh God sent him out from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. So he drove the man out and placed cherubim, east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming turning sword to guard the way to the tree of life. Now Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and she said, I have given birth to a man with the help of Yahweh. Then she bore his brother Abel, and Abel became a keeper of sheep, and Cain became a tiller of the ground, and in the course of time Cain brought an offering from the fruit of the ground to Yahweh, and Abel also brought an offering from the choicest firstlings of his flock. And Yahweh looked with favor to Abel and to his offering, but to Cain and to his offering he did not look with favor. And Cain became very angry, and his face fell. And Yahweh said to Cain, Why are you angry, and why is your face fallen? If you do well, will I not accept you? But if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door, and its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. Then Cain said to his brother Abel, Let us go out into the field. And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then Yahweh said to Cain, Where is Abel, your brother? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive the blood of your brother from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall be a wanderer and fugitive on the earth. And Cain said to Yahweh, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Look, you have driven me out today from the face of the ground, and from your face I must hide. I will be a wanderer and a fugitive on the earth, and it will happen that whoever finds me will kill me. Then Yahweh said to him, Therefore whoever kills Cain will be avenged sevenfold. Then Yahweh put a sign on Cain, so that whoever found him would not kill him. And Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh, and he settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to Enoch. And when he built a city, he named the city after his son, Enoch. And to Enoch was born Irad, and Irad fathered Mehujael, and Mehujael fathered Metushael, and Metushael fathered Lamech, and Lamech took to himself 2 wives. The name of the first was Adah, and the name of the second was Zillah. And Adah gave birth to Yaval, and he was the father of those who live in tents and those who have livestock. And the name of his brother was Yuval, and he was the father of all who play stringed instruments and wind instruments. Then Zillah also gave birth to Tuval-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools of bronze and iron, and the sister of Tuval-Cain was Naamah. Then Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, Listen to my voice, O wives of Lamech, hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, even a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged sevenfold, then Lamech will be avenged 77 times. Then Adam knew his wife again, and she gave birth to a son, and she called his name Seth, I think it's Shet. For she said, God has appointed to me another child in the place of Abel, because Cain killed him. And as for Seth, he also fathered a son, and he called his name Enosh. And at that time he began to call on the name of Yahweh. This is the record of the generations of Adam. When God created Adam, He made him in the likeness of God. Male and female he created them, and he blessed them, and he called their name humankind when they were created. And when Adam had lived 130 years, he fathered a child in his likeness, according to his image. And he called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he fathered Seth were 800 years. And he fathered sons and daughters, and all the days of Adam which he lived were 930 years, and he died. When Seth had lived 105 years, he fathered Enosh. And after Seth had fathered Enosh, he lived 807 years and fathered sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. When Enosh lived 90 years, he fathered Kenan. And after Enosh fathered Kenan, he lived 815 years and fathered sons and daughters. And all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. When Kenan had lived 70 years, he fathered Mahalalel. And after Kenan had fathered Mahalalel, he lived 840 years and fathered sons and daughters. And all the days of Kenan were 910 years, and he died. When Mahalalel had lived 65 years, he fathered Yared. And after Mahalalel had fathered Yared, he lived 830 years and fathered sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. When Yared had lived 162 years, he fathered Chanoch, or Enoch. And after Yared had fathered Enoch, he lived 800 years and fathered sons and daughters. And all the days of Yared were 962 years, and he died. When Enoch had lived 65 years, he fathered Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after he fathered Methuselah 300 years, and fathered sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was no more, for God took him. When Methuselah had lived 187 years, he fathered Lamech. And after Methuselah had fathered Lamech, he lived 782 years and fathered sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. When Lamech had lived 182 years, he fathered a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, "This one shall relieve us from our work and from the hard labor of our hands, from the ground which Yahweh had cursed." And after Lamech had fathered Noah, he lived 595 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. All the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. When Noah was 500 years old, Noah fathered Shem, Ham, or Cham, and Japhet. And it happened that when humankind began to multiply on the face of the ground, daughters were born to them. Then the sons of God saw the daughters of humankind, that they were beautiful, and they took for themselves wives from all that they chose. And Yahweh said, "My spirit shall not abide with humankind forever, and that he is also flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were upon the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went into the daughters of humankind, and they bore children to them. And Yahweh saw that the evil of humankind was great upon the earth, and every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was always only evil. And Yahweh regretted that he had made humankind on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. And Yahweh said, I will destroy humankind, whom I created, from upon the face of the earth, from humankind to animals, to creeping things, and to the birds of heaven, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahweh." Okay, so that's the Torah reading. The prophet reading is Isaiah 6. "In the year of the death of Uzziah the king, I saw the Lord sitting on a high and raised throne, and the hem of his robe was filling the temple. Seraphs were standing above him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And the one called to the other and said, Holy, holy, holy is Yahweh of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the pivots of the thresholds shook from the sound of those who called, and the house was filled with smoke. And I said, Woe to me, for I am destroyed, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I am living among a people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King, Yahweh of hosts. Then one of the seraphs flew to me, and in his hand was a hot coal he had taken from the altar with tongs. And he touched my mouth, and he said, Look, this has touched your lips, and has removed your guilt, and your sin is atoned. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, I am here, send me. And he said, Go and say to this people, Keep on listening and do not comprehend, and keep on looking and do not understand. Make the heart of this people insensitive, and make its ears unresponsive, and shut its eyes so that it may not look with its eyes, and listen with its ears, and comprehend with its mind, and turn back, and it may be healed for him. Then I said, Until when, Lord? And he said, Until the cities lie wasted without inhabitant, and houses without people, and the land is ruined and a waste, and Yahweh sends the people far away, and the abandonment is great in the midst of the land. And even if only 1/10 part remain, again she will be destroyed, like a terebinth or like an oak, which although felled, a tree stump remains in them. The seed of holiness will be her tree stump. Okay? Revelation 17. And one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying, Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed sexual immorality, and those who live on the earth became drunk with the wine of her sexual immorality. And he carried me away into the wilderness in the spirit. And I saw a woman seated on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was dressed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, holding a golden cup in her hand, full of detestable things, and the unclean things of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead a name was written, a mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of the detestable things of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the witnesses to Yeshua. And I was greatly astonished when I saw her, and the angel said to me, Why are you astonished? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that has the 7 heads and the 10 horns that carries her. The beast that you saw was and is not, and is going to come up from the abyss, and he is going to destruction. And those who live on the earth, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast that was and is not, and will be present. Here is the mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and they are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come. And whenever he comes, it is necessary for him to remain a short time. And the beast that was and is not is also himself an 8th, and is of the 7, and he is going to destruction. And the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings, who have not yet received a kingdom, but they will receive authority as kings for 1 hour with the beast. These have one opinion, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. These will make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he said to me, The waters that you saw, where the prostitute is seated, are peoples and crowds and nations and languages. And the 10 horns that you saw and the beast, these will hate the prostitute and will make her desolate and naked, and they will eat her flesh and will burn her up with fire. For God put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose, and to make a unanimous decision, and to give their kingdom to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman that you saw is the great city that has sovereignty over the kings of the earth. Okay, the Psalm 25. To you, O Yahweh, I lift up my soul. O my God, I trust you. Let me not be put to shame. Do not let my enemies exult over me. Indeed, none who wait for you should be put to shame. Those who betray without cause should be put to shame. Make me know your ways, O Yahweh. Teach me your paths. Cause me to walk in your truth and teach me, because you are the God of my salvation. I await you all day long. Remember your compassion, O Yahweh, and your acts of loyal love, because they are from of old. Do not remember the sins of my youth or my transgressions. According to your loyal love, remember me if you will, for the sake of your goodness, O Yahweh. Good and right is Yahweh. Therefore, he instructs sinners in the way. He causes the humble to walk in justice and teaches the humble his way. All the paths of Yahweh are loyal love and faithfulness for those who keep his covenant and statutes. Also, for the sake of your name, O Yahweh, forgive my sin, because it is great. Who is the man fearing Yahweh? He will instruct him in the way he should choose. His soul will lodge in prosperity, and his offspring will possess the land. Intimate fellowship with Yahweh is for those who fear him, and he makes known his covenant to them. My eyes are continually toward Yahweh, because he will take my feet from the net. Turn to me and have mercy on me, because I am lonely and afflicted. Remove the troubles of my heart. Bring me out from my distresses. Consider my affliction and trouble, and forgive all my sins. Consider that my enemies are many, and they hate me with violent hatred. Protect my life and deliver me. Let me not be put to shame, because I take shelter in you. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, because I wait for you. O God, redeem Israel from all its troubles. All right. Amen. Bless you guys.